Hey, how's it going, guys? Hope you guys doing well. So today we're gonna talk about this brand new X100 RGB edition. Now I'm gonna take a little bit of challenge for myself and tell you guys 3 things you did not know about this light. Well, technically 4. There's a bonus one at the end, but this is not gonna be a full-on review of this light because honestly, guys, I've been so busy traveling past 1 month, including spring break for my kids. But I did do a full review video on this original X100. That video is a full video. So if you guys are interested, go ahead and take a look in the description below for that video. But make sure you watch to the end of the video because some of these topics may save you some money. So yes, I've been using my original X100 for a very long time now. It's been almost 2 years. I have multiple ones. There's one right here. So most of my YouTube videos, the fill light is my X100. I also use these for weddings to light up receptions. But one of the drawbacks, or really 2, is that it doesn't support Fresnel natively. You can technically do a Bowens mount Fresnel, which makes this huge, kind of defeats the purpose of having such a compact light. So comes the X100 RGB version with Cam Mackey's collaboration. Thank you, Cam. My wish has come true. So the biggest upgrade technically for me is this Fresnel. I know there's the RGB part, which we'll talk about later, but look how thin this Fresnel is. That is about 1 inch thick, which makes this perfect because the biggest benefit, really, no pun intended, is the fact that I can stack multiple of these inside my backpack without taking up so much space. And because the Fresnel is so small now, I'm just gonna leave it on there like that. And yes, just in case you didn't know, that right there is magnet. But I'm gonna go ahead and take this off to focus on this part right here. So when you first look at this pattern, you might recognize this pattern a little bit because this right here, guys, is also compatible with, this is one of Zhiyun's lights also. This is the M20C 20 watt light RGB also in a compact form factor. But check this out. Recognize this? I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. But there's also a grid and extra diffusion on here, which is also compatible with the X100 RGB version. Bam. So we'll talk more about the significance of this later, but that's the first thing you might not have known. But the second thing I want to talk to you guys about, the fact that you guys already know that RGB version of a light compared to a non-RGB version, you're gonna lose a little bit of that power or the brightness of it because essentially you're really sharing all the LEDs, right? So there's RGB actual diodes inside that LED to share that surface. But something else to note is that not every single RGB or the color scale is same in brightness or the actual output power for most RGB lights, but the question is by how much? So the first thing to note is that non-RGB version is brighter than the RGB version by a little bit. So this one is measuring up to 3,881 lux compared to 3,110 lux when it comes to 1 meter measuring. And of course that's at the daylight setting, but when it comes to RGB and the color circle, this light right here is the brightest and most power hungry at the 224 degrees level, which is also kind of this deep sky blue color. And the power consumption is actually pretty significant in this case because it is a 100 watt light. So compared to the other colors, it is almost double the power consumption at that color. So you might be also asking, why is that even important? So this is important because one, you know where it's brightest in terms of RGB color circle, but also in terms of power hunger, that means you gotta really watch out for that battery life at that color. So at non-RGB color like daylight, the battery, when it's fully charged, it's saying that it's gonna last 34 minutes. But when it comes to right on the dot RGB colors, for example, red and green, fully charged, full power, it lasted 1 hour and 10 minutes-ish. But when I put it at 224 degrees blue color, it lasted about half of that, so 36 minutes-ish. Now you may look at that as pro or con. Pro being it is super bright at that color. Even though it's RGB, it is consuming over 90 watts of power. Con being it is variable in terms of power consumption depending on where you are in that color cycle. So I made a little chart for you guys, so feel free to pause, but this is the actual power consumption depending on where you are in the color circle. And I want you to know this information because when you're used to this light at a certain color, let's say you're on a red and you're shooting, you're so impressed that this light is lasting over an hour on the battery, full power, and the next day you have a same shoot with a different color, all of a sudden your battery is cut down to half, you're not aware of that, you could be in trouble. So there you go. Now this characteristics may exist in some of the other RGB lights, but it's gonna be a little bit more extreme in this case because this is not 16 watt RGB kind of light. This is a 100 watt light with RGB features in it, so you should definitely be aware of this. Now before I tell you guys how to save some money when it comes to this light, the third topic I want to tell you guys about has to do with this battery. Now let's address some elephant in this room. There's a lot of elephant these days. So this battery has some bad reputation. Not this one exactly. So if you look at a lot of the reviews from B&H on the X100, the original X100, initially had bad reviews because the battery had lots of failure. Now what's impressive to me is that Zhiyun actually recognized that and released this statement. Now feel free to read that statement on your own. What it's basically saying is that when you purchase an X100, the battery has a lifetime warranty. So of course I had to ask Zhiyun and actually confirm that, does this battery have the lifetime warranty also? And the answer is yes. And the third thing you may not know about this light is the fact that this battery is actually a decent battery. It has a really good charging curve, and in terms of charging time, I'm getting better result than what's actually advertised. So on the spec sheet, this battery was saying that it had charging time of 2.5 hours, but when I tested it multiple times, I was getting about 2 hours and 9 minutes. So here's my finding about the battery charging curve. So this battery consumes power consistently at 32 watt all the way up to about hour and 46 minutes-ish. So basically it's charging up to about 85 to 90% at that point. And then the wattage starts to taper off and then finishes charging up to 100%. So my recommendation on charging this, I would charge it about hour and 45 minutes-ish to get to that level where it's 85 to 90%. And that should be plenty for most of the shoots. And you want to do that because a healthy thing to do for a battery is not charge it at 100% like all the time and leave it there. So here's the bonus topic that could potentially save you some money. So this right here, when you get the Pro package with everything, as of this week on a launch day, it's gonna be $449. I say this week because I don't know what's going on anymore with tariffs, so you never know. Whereas in the standard version, which only thing you're really getting is actually this Fresnel, and that's about it. And that's gonna run at $269. Now, if you never purchased the X series light from Zhiyun, that full package, the Pro package, is totally worth it. Everything you're getting in that light, there's huge value in that. But let's say you already purchased a bunch of X100s or the X60s and you have all these accessories already for it. You just want the barn door, and that's all you want. In which case, $449 could be a steep price. So here's my recommendation to you guys. So I mentioned that this M series lights from Zhiyun. This is an awesome light. There's the RGB version, which I like with the pairing with these X100 RGB, but there's also this bicolor version for much cheaper. And that comes with the barn door that's compatible with the X100 RGB, and that's gonna be much cheaper total. And I'm just letting you know the options because the accessories are compatible with the X100 RGB. And of course, as usual for my audience, I do have a special coupon code in the description below. It is actually a 10% coupon code that's special in a sense because one, it doesn't expire. So you can use it on any Zhiyun product, not just for the X100. So yes, you can use it for the M20 series lights also. But the bigger saving really is, if this is your first time on this channel, you may have found a channel that's not afraid to go through a painful process, testing out batteries till hours in. So if you appreciated that test, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll try to save you much more money down in the future. And speaking of future, I do want to test out this little thing here. So this right here is Zhiyun's first little projection lens attachment with the gobo, which sits right inside here. So you can take it out like that. That's one of the gobo that's included, and slide that back in. So I didn't get a chance to actually test this out. So I'm gonna go ahead and test this out and do something a little bit more creative on my Instagram, which will be this handle right here. So hopefully I'll see you guys there.